Yesterday, Clutch CEO Rich Paul, he sat down, he did an interview with NBA Radio at Summer League. He gave us some very interesting thoughts about where LeBron's career could go. Take a listen.
Could you envision something where he does actually play maybe 43, 44, 45? Can you see that happening? I know it's far down the road.
What does that put him at, 5 or 6 more years?
Yeah.
I think it's important to understand what really motivates him. I know it. Obviously, I've been around him for so long, I can tell you what his day probably looks like without even talking to him. And as long as his mind is there, as long as he's still excited about playing the game, in addition to the health, absolutely. Because I always tease him. I say, if your athleticism went away, you just be Karl Malone. It's fine. Like, you can pick and pop, shoot the jumper,
That's
make
true.
the right read. He can literally play for as long as he wants to.
Yeah.
All right, he can play for as long as he wants. There have been 5 players in NBA history who've played at least 21 seasons. Vince Carter has the record with 22, right?
That's
and then we have Kevin Garnett, Dirk Nowitzki, Robert Parrish, Kevin Willis, all played 21 years. So LeBron would join this list in his upcoming season. And this topic, it originally came up, right, because Venus Williams said that she wants to play until she is 50. And I said, you know what, go ahead, girl. LeBron is 38, turns 39 coming up here. He says, he could play till he's 45. How many seasons do you see here, Rich?
Well, again, he can play as long as he wants. It is true, because if you listen to Rich Paul, he was not saying that he's going to be dominant for as long as he wants. He's saying that he can pick and pop, he can do some different things. So, look, when you have an IQ like that and you're 6'9", and you have that size, you can switch positions. He can be the point guard, he can be the power forward, all of these things. But he won't be dominant till he's 40, 50, or 45. He'll be dominant till he's like 43.
Yeah, but we've already seen the evolution happen. When he came into the league, everyone knew he could go off the bounce, get to the rim, and then we saw him take more and more threes, and he shot a great percentage the last few years. And so he'll lean more on that, especially that, that dribble, look down, I know I'm going to step back type of thing. But I think it's cool because if you think about the greats of the generations throughout sports, you've got Tom Brady at that 45 mark. It's interesting that that idea is out there. I don't think he probably will, but he could if he wanted to. If one athlete, based on how he took care of his body, could do it, it's absolutely LeBron James.
Yeah. Was I sitting in the room a couple months ago when LeBron got eliminated from the playoffs and said, I might retire?
Yes,
we were sitting there, right?
He said he has things to evaluate, which you should do at the end of every season.
Especially when you get up there.
He always says, if my mind is right, my body will follow, okay? And so his mind was not right at the end of last year because he had played so much just to get into the playoffs. Like, that took so much out of LeBron to get the Lakers into the play-in tournament, then to get through Memphis, then to get through Golden State. He was mentally and physically exhausted. And so, we had a real discussion about this for a couple of days, and he's never publicly said, I'm not retiring. He's never come out and said that. I think we all assumed he was just spent, needed a week or two to recoup. But to me, you can play to 45 as long as your mind is in it. Because, Richard, Perk, you know how much LeBron James trains to be in condition and play at that level.
Right, but Rich Paul said, he's focused coming into this season. He's been commenting on social media about the new additions of his teammates. So as we all read the tea leaves, we sort of feel like not only is he coming back, he's coming back with a vengeance. But Perk, what do you see changing in his game as he ages, as he continues to work to extend his prolific career here?
Well, I think him continue to make sure that he not be a consistent knockdown three-point shooter and mastering the elbow. Like, I could see LeBron becoming a stretch 4, on the floor. The only problem is that he might get picked on the other end. Guys might start putting him in pick and rolls, and now he have to slide those puppies. But when you think about Bron, I'm thinking about him, and I think about Bronny, and I think about Bryce. We heard him time and time again talk about, I want to play with my son. So he's obviously going to play with Bronny in the next, couple of years. Probably not on the same team, but be in the league at the same time.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Bryce is going to be available. And then all of a sudden, okay, do I want to have an opportunity to play in the league with both of my sons in the league? But here's the thing. LeBron actually could play until he's 50. Because if LeBron could buy into the Udonis Haslem role, where he's actually on the bench being a veteran leader, you don't think no team will want him and say, you know what, here, bro, we'll play you the vet minimum, which I believe is like $2.4, $2.5 million to be on our bench mentoring our young guys? He could still be in the league.
We have the same reaction. He won't want to do
He
that.
won't want to do
He
that.
won't
Come
wanna
on,
do
But
man.
I mean, I feel like at this point, Perk, you could just host the
I'm
show
just saying,
because that
I know
transition.
he wouldn't,
He
but
could.
Seamless.
He could.
You're talking about,
Flawless.
listen, if we're being honest, physically, could LeBron still contribute for another 5 to 7 years?
Yes.
I think physically he could, even with the decline. Let's say his 5 years from now, 6 years from now, he averaged 12 points a game.
Right.
Yes, he could do that, and he would just put all of these numbers even further away.
Ramona, when you're looking at motivating factors, how has LeBron been this offseason? What have you heard?
I mean, he's people close to LeBron told me he just needed some time after the season
Sure.
to rest. Like that Golden State series took so much out of him mentally and physically. And I think LeBron is to the point where they need to compete for champions to keep his mind in it. But once Bronny and once Bryce get to a place where they might be in the league, that's another round of motivation to where, if the Lakers if the Lakers have the pieces around him to compete, he'll be motivated. But if Bronny's in the league in 2 years, I mean, this is, I'm gonna keep saying this because it's a shocking thing to say. This could be his last year as a Laker. Like if Bronny gets to the league in one more year, LeBron's gonna go where Bronny is. He said that. I want to go where Bronny is. It may not be with the Lakers. So this is a whole other chapter that we're gonna have to consider. The Lakers
are
have to plan that way.
drafting him. Lakers are drafting Bronny. If they could draft him right now and store him, they would.
Well, I think,
they owe
nothing
their
is
pick to the
more
Pelicans?
motivating.
They'd steal that. They'd steal that too.
Nothing's more motivating than winning, except maybe
That's
winning
right.
with your family. Like, I feel like
Yes.
that
Amen
Sinead
to
knows
that.
a little something
I
about
like to win
that.
solo.
That surprises nobody out there. Speaking of motivation, hey, Perk, have you seen Anthony Davis's offseason training? Have you seen what it's been looking like? It's been pretty intense. What do you think? I know we've said that Anthony Davis needs to come back. He needs to have, you said his best season